I love you.
Well, hello. I'm so happy to see you all come through that front door. Come sit on the couch with us here, potatoes, because today we're talking The Sword and the Stone. I'm the Green Traveler from Gorsh.
And I am the Faceless Leone. Now, Knight of the Round. Shrink with my mighty sword.
I think it's very fair to say that you and I are both huge King Arthur fans.
Oh yeah, love it.
Now that by that I don't mean that I am very studied in the lore. It's just when I was probably, I would say, from the age of 6 to, I want to say, like 10 or 11, I only cared about King Arthur. I read King Arthur. I watched movies. That was all I lived for as a very young kid, was King Arthur. And
that story's great, man.
Yeah, it's knighthood and chivalry and adventure. And then there's Merlin.
Yes. But even the love triangle stuff and the
the romance.
The romance and the betrayal and all that stuff. It's just, there's a reason why it's a good story.
Yeah.
The story wasn't always like that, though.
No, it wasn't. No. And, the thing about King Arthur is there's, no, definitive tale of King Arthur. There's so many different... There is an origin. There are, the first tales of King Arthur, of course, but it has grown to be so much more than that. Many people just choose what their favorite King Arthur lore is, basically. There's people who like Mists of Avalon, which is it's all about the women of the King Arthur realm. Fucking great novel by Marianne Zimmer Bradley. But then, you have also, of course, you have these tales by T.H. White, which is what Disney animation's based off of, which I believe was my first introduction to King Arthur. I'm not entirely sure. I can't remember. T.H. White's Once and Future King. What Sword in the Stone is based off? It's based off the first act of that.
Oh, it's a play. I'm not sure that I've seen that.
Well, it's not a play. I'm saying Sword in the Stone. What we're talking about today, the animation. It's based off of the first act, the first book of the Once and Future King, which is a big novel by T.H. White.
I see. Okay.
Sorry. I said act, but I think it was still called an act, Act 1, which is the Sword in the Stone. It's just his childhood.
Right.
I can't remember. I feel like that was my first introduction to King Arthur, because it was either that or... Yeah, it was either that by T.H. White or there's a young adult fiction based on Merlin's youth.
Nice.
Man, I can't remember who wrote it. I want to say it's T.A. Barron. I don't know why all the authors I'm thinking of have initials as their first names. I want to say it's T.A. Barron. It's the Songs of Merlin. There's 5 or 6 books. It's a short young adult series. That was the basis of my love, because when it comes to King Arthur, my actual love is for Merlin. Yeah. And, I really like Arthur. I like Lancelot. I love all the knights and everything. Morgan Le Fay, Mordred, all of them. They're all wonderful characters.
There's great villains. They have all these different villains. I do wish that, I feel like more modern interpretations have done a lot with these villains, but the original stories don't really do too terribly much with them, besides perhaps Mordred. But sometimes Mordred is fighting with Arthur in that last battle. So,
which is weird.
Yeah. It goes either way. And what's great about this story is there's so many different versions, but they're all canonical because they're all the legend.
Yeah, exactly.
But it started out just being a folklore story, not a super fanciful one, about a king who fought against the Saxons, in the late 5th and early 6th centuries. So 400, 500s. Then it didn't really become this big thing until Geoffrey of Monmouth, which I probably said his name wrong, because the English do some weird things with their location names. It looks like one thing, but because of regional things, They say it completely different.
You try, though. That's all that matters.
Yeah,
you try.
I do try. So any, big literary nuts out there, I'm sorry for offending you. He's dead. He doesn't care.
Yeah, right. That's what it really comes down to. All y'all other bitches be sticklers.
So his version, though, is where you get the sword and Uther Pendragon and Guinevere. It also mentions this historical site that's a real site, the castle at Tintagel, I believe is how you say it. Fuck y'all, I don't know how to pronounce shit. So he kind of gave this story another purpose for this architectural thing that kind of was forgotten to history who made it. Archaeologists believe that it was during the Roman occupation that it was built because there's artifacts that date back to that. But I think that's kind of interesting that like a legend kind of evolved into a myth about this thing that people lacked understanding about, which is just what storytelling has always done throughout history.
And then he developed Knights of the Round Table because they were all on equal grounding. There was no head of the table. They were all together. And then they went for the Holy Grail.
Well, those two things and Lancelot were actually all added by the French poet. I'm definitely gonna probably say this wrong, but Chrétien de Troyes, I believe is how you said it. I listened to it, so if I got it right, here we go. I just had to study. But anyways, that wasn't until the 12th century that those three things got added. But those are like the three most iconic things, I feel like, is that relationship with Lancelot, and then the quest for the Grail, and they're just the brotherhood of the knights.
Yeah. And that's what I just like. That's what I love about King Arthur is he started in such humble roots as just a good king who fought off the enemy, and then now he's grown into this crazy legend with so many different variants. And I haven't one of my big problems is I want a really good King Arthur movie. I want every single production company out there is searching for their one cinema universe. We gotta have it. Marvel's created this beautiful gem and we all have to recreate it. Well, whoever has the rights to King Arthur is a fucking dumbass right now. There's so much there.
I don't know if you can have the rights to King Arthur. Can you?
I'm sure movie rights or something because that's why you keep getting rights? you got the Clive Owen King Arthur movie that came out,
right?
And then not too long ago you had the Guy Ritchie King Arthur movie that came out that was just god awful. I really hated that one, and I feel like they're just so spread apart that it has to be a reason of we have to keep the rights, so let's quickly push out a shit King Arthur movie because we don't know what to do with it.
Interesting, but I don't know who unless somebody was savvy and hey, I'm gonna go copyright or trademark King Arthur, because how do you do that with a legend? I don't know how that works.
Maybe there isn't. I really don't know how it works, but I'm just saying it is a cinema universe begging to happen.
Right,
there's so much shit here.
Yeah,
and I'm really excited because A24 is doing The Green Knight.
Oh my god!
So that's I'm fucking pumped for that.
Did it? Imagine if A24 their next movie was a Lancelot story or something. That would be fucking awesome.
It would be really cool, but I feel like that would be setting it up wrong because I feel like there's so much to do beforehand. But I guess they could just do prequels. There's no issue doing that. I feel like leading with the Green Knight for your cinematic universe is a very bold step, but I'm totally on board for it.
They took, especially it'd been pointed out to me that the version that people had in their mind was the Green Giant being this kind of jolly character, but I've always seen him as sinister. But that's because the version that I read had two different illustrations. It had that jolly looking version of the Green Knight, but it also had something that kind of looks akin to the special effects that they show in that trailer.
Nice. He's very fayish.
He is, and it's awesome. I love it.
I'm on board for it. I'm so pumped for that. I think it's very showing that we've spent 10 minutes talking about everything but the animation.
I was just because
I mean, I guess we should try to bring it back to the animation. That's the point why everybody's here. We're doing the silver age of Disney. We're getting close to the end. I think there's like 2 movies left. This and maybe one other movie.
You know what? I was too busy brandishing my sword to tell everybody that this is a podcast about movies and TV.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that is why you're here. So I'm glad I'm glad we clued you all into that. You're all like, what the fuck am I here for? These guys. Just
going on. What is this? The Arthur podcast? I thought it was about
King Arthur only. We can get probably a solid 100 episodes out of King Arthur. We were just to talk King Arthur alone. But we are today talking the Disney Silver Age film Sword in the Stone, as we've mentioned at the top. And the reason we just don't want to talk about it, in my opinion, is because it's boring as fuck all, man.
Yeah, it was pretty boring.
It is like the most held back take on King Arthur I've ever seen. Like, I don't think I feel like I watched this in school. I think they might have shown this when I was like really young, like, first grade or whatever.
And
just
it has
to get us
an
to shut up.
Educational feel to it. Like that's like Merlin's main drive is to educate Arthur.
Yeah.
It really feels like it's from Merlin's perspective too.
Yeah, that is the plot of this story. Is you have young King Arthur. Nobody knows he's a king. He is just what's he called? Wart. Yeah. Yeah, he's called Wart in this. He's called Wart in the Once and Future King novel as well for that first story. He is just that weak, small kind of kid. Nobody expects much from him. He is just, he's subservient to his. It's not his brother. It's like his adoptive.
Yeah, you're talking about Sir Kay, and that's Sir Ector's son, and Arthur is Sir Ector's ward. So it's kind of like an adoptive child, but more like, I just take care of this person. I make sure they get fed.
Yeah, and he's kind of like a fake squire for Ector's son. We don't have to get deep into it. Somewhere along the line, Merlin picks up Wart as his protege, his tutor. He's going to tutor this kid because he believes, he knows him to be the King Arthur of legend, and he wants to nurture that.
All these medieval problems.
Yeah, and that's the story, is just watching Merlin teach this kid. The problem I have with it is, Merlin's fun. He's goofy and silly. Wart's a good character because he is compassionate. He's willing. Yeah, he's willing. He wants to help. He's very kind. He's just a little weak. He needs to be raised up. He needs to be honed. How
does he expect to get anywhere in life without a good education?
Amen, sister.
Yeah.
But the problem, though, is in the lessons, because they are all the exact fucking same. I'm going to transform you into another animal. We're going to learn about how this animal lives. You're going to get attacked by that animal's predator, and then Merlin's going to bite its tail, and you can get away. Almost every single one is exactly like that.
Except for one time they do it with the owl.
But doesn't almost the exact same thing happen?
Yes.
Doesn't Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just a different animal and a different predator. And you watch the first one and it's kind of funny and you're laughing. It's like, this is going to be fun. We're going to go on a little adventure.
Yeah.
Nope. Not fun at all. It's going to be the exact same boring shit, scene after scene.
Yeah.
And there's not going to be any hints at King Arthur's future, because obviously we're not doing a sequel. This is just his first, this is his youth. We're focusing on this for the kids.
I don't know. Maybe they did think it was going to do well or something, and then they would do more movies, and maybe it didn't do that well. I didn't look into the production or review side of this at all.
But the Silver Age has done pretty well, so I would imagine it did well. Like I don't know. It's just I don't think it had. Dull. Yeah, it's just boring.
There are some good nuggets in it though. You gotta like, what is it, Figitus or whatever, his song when he's packing up the house. That was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. But that was just a recreation of Incid and Mickey.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Yeah. Yeah,
I mean it's almost the song is nice, but the whole scene itself is almost the exact same as when Mickey was controlling all the broomsticks and everything. Like, I don't know, it's just blah. It's boring. It's just I don't know. It's bottom of the barrel.
Okay, well then, just because I feel like we're kind of running out of things to already talk about the movie because that really is it in a nutshell.
Yeah. Let's just get back to King Arthur.
Well, no. Listen, though. I do. There's two things that I do want to talk about, or at least mention. Like, okay, so the actual part with the sword was kind of cute. Like, he just did it. He just walked up and he did it. Legendary sword. Whoever draws it becomes king of all of Britain. He just comes and draws it. But he doesn't want it for himself. He wants it for somebody else.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the whole reason why I let him draw it. I don't know. That's kind of interesting.
It depends on the legend if you want to. Some people say it's like Merlin was sitting there and was like, oh, there he goes. I'm going to release the spell that's holding it in the stone because Merlin had forced it in there. There are others that are exactly like what you said where it's, it's his benevolence. Right. He didn't want it for himself. He wanted it for others to help others.
Yeah. He was going to give it to Kay to all people. He did give it to Kay. He did give it to Kay. And Hector was like, oh my God, where'd you get this, son? You were here the whole time. I know you didn't get it.
Right.
Yeah. I did like the loyalty to this legend that Sir Hector had. There was a very good opportunity for him to be like, my son is king. He has the sword. But no, he let the test happen for real. And Arthur still gets it. And that's maybe a spoiler. But really what I want to talk about was how brief of a moment that was. And I feel like it's the Arthur legend. He draws the sword from the stone.
But you're right. That moment is 5 minutes, if that, and an hour and 20-minute film. And it's almost abrupt end too, isn't it? I can't remember. I feel like I kind of.
And then Merlin rockets back from Bermuda to tell him he'll be all right. He'll be all right. We'll figure it out as we go. And he's like, dude, I'm 10. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I can barely read.
Oh, man. I forgot about Merlin coming in that door with the Bermuda shit. Man. Just on vacation.
He gets all angry earlier in the film, but this is before the sword happens. And also his anger is totally unfounded in that scene. I am so mad at Merlin in that scene because Arthur comes in because he's proud that he got picked to be a Kay's squire for this tournament. And he comes to Merlin to tell him that. Merlin had some lesson plans or something and he gets interrupted. Boo fucking who, Merlin? Jesus.
he's a grumpy old man.
Yeah, but Arthur says, you have no idea what it's like. I am literally no one. And this is an opportunity. And he's like, of course he has to take it. Why can't Merlin see that makes me upset? But then, because he's mad, he says, blast me to Bermuda. And then he just all of a sudden turns into a rocket and shoots through the thatch roof to Bermuda. And the owls, when Wart asks him, where's Bermuda? He said, it's some island that nobody's ever discovered yet. That was probably the best part of the movie. And I was still upset because there was no reason for Merlin to get upset at him. I don't know.
You have to look at it from Merlin's perspective. He knows he's going to be locked up for the rest of his life in a crystalline chamber cave for, it's going to suck. And he's just spent so much time teaching this damn kid how to run away from predators and be something that the kid's like, I'm a nobody. And he's like, bitch, I've been done telling you forever that you're a damn legend.
All right. You know what? I forgot to factor in the crystalline chamber. So...
Oh man, who's the lady that locks him in there? It's Nivea? Nimue.
Yeah.
Yes. Never forgive her. How dare she lock the greatest sorcerer ever up in a cave or in a tree or in whatever else he's locked in other fables.
Another suggestion for the potatoes out there. I think it's just called Cursed. So this is a great suggestion. I'm going to tell you to go find something. You're never going to be able to find it. It's on Netflix. I believe the title is just Cursed. But it is a story from Nimue's perspective.
Ooh, that would be interesting. Is it just Cursed or Cursed?
I believe it's... Oh, not just. No just. It's
okay.
cursed.
So cursed. Okay.
Yes. Thanks for clarifying.
You just said it both times, and I was like, "Wait, is it called that?" Or what? I'm so confused now. I thought
it was very interesting though. The show.
Yeah.
To see a story from Nimwe's perspective, and Merlin's a big character too.
Right. And that's the beauty of Arthur is it's no longer just about Arthur. There's so many knights, so many women in the world, and in the Arthur world, of course. You got Merlin. You got all of Merlin's backstory. He has a huge fucking history. I believe that's another one of my favorite series. I think it's by Mary Stewart. The first 3 books follow King Arthur or follow Merlin like from youth to being King Arthur's sorcerer, and then like 4 and 5 are just about King Arthur. Oh, so good. Really like them, and they're very like, they're very grounded. Like the magic in it's presented very real. Like I don't even remember if there is magic or if Merlin is just like very intuitive. I can't remember, but yeah, those I really like those as a kid, and I feel like if I were to go back to as an adult, they would be so much better. Because as a kid, I was struggling because they were a little more intuitive than I could handle as a child. But I had to read everything King Arthur and Merlin back then. I was just like, I needed it.
Yeah.
I even read the Wikipedias like 3 times.
Yeah, I was just doing that earlier today to do the show. So
there's like 50 pages too.
Oh, let's talk about somebody who is in nowhere else in the universe. That's Madam Mim. What do you think about Madam Mim?
Remind me who she was.
Oh my god, she's the main antagonist. She's considered the main antagonist of the movie. She's like the bog witch lady who just wants anything malicious to happen. She thinks it's amusing.
I'm sure if I were to look a picture of her up right now, I would immediately remember. But genuinely, I watched this a week ago, and for the majority of it, I was bored as fuck and was like paying attention to other things. It's like my ADHD was going like nutso during this movie. I was on my phone. I would pull out my book and start reading that.
I'll be honest, I watched half of it and was like, I'm not paying attention to this, and turned it off, and then came back and rewatched it later.
See, I should probably do it that way from them, but I was just like, nope. I gave it its chance. That affects its score. That's how my brain works. That's
honestly fair, I think. I mean, what is a critique other than snap judgment mixed with critical thought?
Exactly. I'm a reactionist. There is 2 people, I think, that we should... Well, I say 2 people. There are 2 groups of people, I guess, that I did want to give credit to for this movie. I mean, the animators are great, too, so 3 groups of people.
It's good, animated, yeah.
Yeah, it looks really beautiful. I won't deny that. But the 2 people I want to talk about, the songs, they were written by the Sherman Brothers, who wrote down that they did the music for Mary Poppins, Jungle Book, Aristocrats, and Winnie the Pooh. So that's all, that's beautiful. There is a great choice of music in all of those films. And as you mentioned, there are some good songs in this. I don't remember them off the top of my head, but I did enjoy them when I was listening to them, but they're not quite memorable.
You're not going to remember his song about, I don't know, it might have even been about the ABCs.
Yeah. I can't remember it.
Actually, there's an ABC song in it. But it's not as popular as the one that everybody knows. So
yeah, the whatever you were calling it, the Higgledy Piggledy. It wasn't.
No, I mean like the ABC song that everybody knows.
Oh yeah,
it's very similar to it because I mean there's only so much you can do when you're listing off letters,
right?
Yeah, but it is a nice song. It's very like lullabaic, but
yeah,
It's not going to supersede this one.
It might have put me to sleep. I can't remember it. The other person I want to recognize was the composer who did the score, George Burns. Again, Sleeping Beauty, 101 Dalmatians, Jungle Book, Aristocrats, Robin Hood. Great composer. Like I did really like the music too in this. Like just the soundtrack was nice. Like the songs are great, but the musical scoring that was interesting to me, especially because you have so much work or so much to work with because of all the different animals, all the different environments. And it seems like he really did capture on a lot of that. You know, the action under the water was interesting.
Oh,
you
know. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I thought that they did, I noted that they did some interesting stuff with the audio when they were under there.
Yeah, so it's like technical details. Great job. Like, you know, the work and the heart put into this movie, I feel. But it's just that story.
Yeah, and they needed to do something that was more plot heavy.
Yeah.
Really. They made an educational film that featured King Arthur. That's what they did.
You need more of Mrs. Nim. You need her to be more included throughout the story so that you have more of a conflict, I guess.
Yeah. And I don't know why they couldn't have just made a Morgan Le Fay.
Well, they don't want to imply anything about his future because there's, you know, there's nothing about King Arthur in this really. No. It's just that beginning. It's so boring. I wanted name drops like that. I wanted to see Morgan Le Fay. I wanted to hear like,
I recall him mentioning Nimue in the very early scene. I don't know if it was before or after Arthur fell through the roof.
Yeah, I don't remember. I'm not gonna doubt you because I'm pretty sure it was in there.
Right.
I'm sure there's a lot of Easter eggs that I just completely overlooked because I wasn't paying attention. But it didn't feel connected to that story at all.
If there was a second and third movie to this, it definitely, I would hope, be the dumpster of the three.
Right.
Because for a kids movie, it is very competent and it does have some educational features. So that's nice. But as an adult, all of these other films had something that was very, very nice for the parent watching. This film just really doesn't. There was less action in this movie than Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah, it's true. That is very true, and that's very fucking sad.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, their action just in Sword in the Stone, most of the action takes place between animals, so it doesn't feel that compelling. You know, it just feels like watching a National Geographic feature. You're just like, yeah, of course, that thing is gonna attack an owl. Like, fucking yeah.
But if David Attenborough was a fish.
I'd watch the shit out of that.
Me too. Yeah. No.
But no, the educational aspect, as you mentioned, it's for kids. Kids will enjoy it. You know, it keeps it from getting anything worse than a two star. But that's what I give it is 2 stars. But it's the whole Disney Silver Age I found very disappointing because there have been some gems, of course, and we'll talk that. When we finish the era, we'll of course talk our favorites and our least favorites. But I don't know. It's just I understand why child me watched them once and was okay with being done with it forever. Right. And now that I'm watching it again, I'm like, man, am I going to spend another 2 decades before I come back to these? I don't know. Maybe.
I gotta tell you, dude, just to put it out there, right now, Lady and the Tramp really hit me a different way that it never had hit me before. I really like that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say Lady and the Tramp so far of the Silver Age is in my top 3.
Yeah. Oh, you're not gonna elaborate?
I'm not gonna go further.
We'll save it for next episode.
We still have the Jungle Book to talk, baby.
Well,
that's gonna change everything.
I will give it. Yeah, it probably will. To be honest, so I will give it a face. Like I didn't hate watching it. It's a competent movie. It's just a kid movie, and I wish that it was more of an awesome Sword and Stone kind of show. Sword and Sorcery, rather. But whatever.
That's whatever, right?
Yeah.
It happens. There's so many other great King Arthur
definitely
films and TV shows out there to, you know, it's okay that one of them sucks. In fact, you know, quite a lot of them suck. But
in fact, if I'm thinking about it, I think it's most of them. But some of them are really good. And some of them you still hold dear because you like certain aspects of them, like what they did with the lore, even if it's bad acting.
Yeah, I mean, I might not be a big fan of the Clive Owen King Arthur, but there are some really cool ideas in that Clive Owen King Arthur movie.
Yeah, I like that historical approach. I like it.
And Sam Neill as Merlin. Come on, like that's not in King Arthur. That's not in the Clive Owen movie. That's in his own. His own. What is that? A 4-hour movie?
I think it's a Hallmark movie.
Is it a Hallmark? Oh my god!
I think it is. I'm not.
Oh my god!
It's something like that. I know it's something that you could buy in like a big pack at like the dollar store.
Dude, I want so badly for it to be a Hallmark movie. That would be hilarious.
We'll have to do it sometime because I kind of recall it being pretty good, but it really, Sam Neill carries it, obviously.
Yeah. Well, I think it is like 4 hours long, isn't it? It's long as shit.
I think it's 2 parts. Is what it is.
Yeah. There's so many things. We can do a whole King Arthur playlist and link this in there someday. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, and that one's going to be a freeform playlist too because there's so much to it. But God, one of my favorite things, and this is one of my least favorite additions to it, but that's it. That is, I think, the episode of the day.
So
we will continue the Disney Silver Age playlist next week, and I think conclude. I'm not sure.
I think Jungle Book is the last one.
Yeah,
I think so.
Good. I'm done with the Silver Age. The Silver Age hasn't pissed me off as much as the War era.
Those package films, man.
Yeah, those were rough. Those were real rough. But we'll get through it. We'll get through the Silver Age in a much jollier, happier way.
That's right.
And I'll remember most of the films this time, unlike the War era.
Yeah. All right. Well, I've been the Faceless Leon.
And I'm the Green Traveler from Gorsh.
Safe travels and good night. Oh, and support us on patreon.com/greenandfaceless if you so choose.
Nice. Good plug.
Green and Faceless on the Couch is a proud production of FictionWorks 19. If you like the show, please show your support by rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. Like, follow, subscribe, wherever you might listen. We also now have a Patreon account. If you feel so inclined to support us in a financial manner, please become a patron by visiting patreon.com/greenandfaceless. You can also find more information about us on our Facebook account or on the FictionWorks 19 Instagram account. Thank you so much for listening.